This is Task 2 of the British-Italian Nationals Competition 2025. Takeoff once more was at Sinano, and standing on the hill before launch it didn't look like great conditions. However, once in the air, Sinano again proved to be better than it appeared, and I managed to get a much better flight than the previous task. This time I turned left from takeoff and joined quite a few gliders slowly thermaling up towards the ridge top behind us. The lift was not very strong, but easily enough to gain height over several minutes. Over the whole competition I found pilots to be competitive but not aggressive while flying in close proximity to each other. In this particular thermal, it seemed that the radius of each pilot's circles varied considerably, and my own circles were much narrower than many others. Over the past 18 months I've been working on reducing the radius of my circles in thermals. Originally well over 100 metres, I now generally circle with a radius between 45 to 75 metres. This reduces the number of times I fall out of a thermal, and I believe gives me more time in the stronger parts. The thermal didn't get any stronger as we gained height, so I decided once I was level with the top of the ridge behind takeoff, I would fly over there hoping to pick up something stronger that had rolled up the cliff. This move was marginally successful and I gained a few hundred feet, but the task had now started and other gliders were on the move down the course at about my height, so I set off. As I approached the largest valley crossing on the way to turnpoint 1, I knew that I needed to top up with more height before moving on. Yesterday I arrived at the other side of this valley too low to make it any further and missed out on the turnpoint, so this time I wanted things to be different. Several other gliders also had the same plan and we all worked our way upwards to about 5,500 feet before setting off over the gap. I caught a little bit of lift part way across the valley and used it to get an extra few hundred feet of altitude, which helped me to arrive with plenty height and easily able to continue on the course. Landing options below this point of the course were not good, but returning all the way back to takeoff from this height was possible, so I was happy. I topped up another couple of hundred feet before gliding the 1.5 kilometres to the turnpoint. Plenty of the gliders on this part of the ridge, and I think this was the front of the sport class race. When the scores came out later in the evening, it turned out that I had won some lead points during the race, and I guess I had earned these in the early part of the race up to this point. It was buoyant heading along to turnpoint 1 and back again to this edge of the large valley crossing. Enough so that I just continued gliding along the front of the ridge. I'd worked out that I would arrive back at takeoff at around launch height and would most likely be able to get some lift there, and if there was no lift around, I would still be in gliding distance of the official landing field anyway. Total glide to turnpoint 1 and back along the ridge was probably about 8 kilometres, and I lost about 1,500 feet, arriving at just below 4,000 feet. But the lift was there as expected, and I managed to get back to nearly 5,000 again. Unfortunately, the camera battery ran out at this point, and I missed out on some great shots from the next few kilometres of race and my long glide to the landing field when it became apparent I wasn't going to make it much further. I managed to get within 7 kilometres of turnpoint 2, but by this point I was below 3,000 feet and had a couple of ridges to skip over on the way to the landing field. In the end, I arrived over the landing field with just enough height for one circuit to set up for landing. This wasn't a very high scoring day, but I managed to get third place, which dragged me up from 9th place to 4th for the competition so far. A very good day for me.